Welcome to Cover Zero Sports and Hot Takes with your host, Joshua Fisher.
Sports are going crazy and God hates us all. Welcome to Cover Zero Sports and Hot Takes. So, recently I made a YouTube video talking about how Bergevin has literally gone crazy. But I believe that I and the rest of the Habs fans and NHL fans in general owe him an apology because he's playing 42D chess with Carey Price. I don't know. The Kraken decided not to take him, and we end up keeping Jake Allen and Carey Price, and he's a genius. I don't know what other way to put it. That it was a really bold bluff, but the bluff worked out very well, and I can't say I'm not happy. The Kraken decided to take our young defenseman in Cale Fleury, which he's had a couple chances on the NHL level, and he hasn't. It's not that he was bad, he just wasn't visible. He didn't really have a minus or a plus. He was always just stationary, either -1 or +1 throughout the years. The last 2 years he's been playing with us. And honestly, I feel like we kind of need those young defensemen, so I was a little sad to see him go. But now he's playing with his brother, Hayden Fleury, on the Kraken, so he's got to be happy. But yeah, our defensemen are growing old, and Shea Weber does not look like he's going to be playing another game in the NHL, most likely. Not only that, but Jeff Petry's not getting any younger. Ben Sherratt's not a number one option. Edmondson's not a number one option. He could be a number two, but he's also getting older. Romanov is supposed to be the next big thing for us, but he might be gone too because Jack Eichel's on the market, and the Habs have been heavily rumored to be looking for a trade with him. And the Sabres, they want at least 3 first-round picks and 3 prospects. They're not going to get all that, but you got to imagine they're going to get at least 2 prospects and 2 first-rounders and maybe more. But yeah, I think this is a good way to jump to the Seattle Kraken draft, where I think they did a pretty good job with who they drafted. People were complaining that it wasn't superstar. Well, the draft itself was superstar filled, but they didn't pick superstars. Tarasenko was on there. Price was there. There were a lot of great options that they could have taken, but they decided to go young, and they decided to go with a team kind of like the New York Islanders, where it's guys that they could play on any line. It doesn't really matter. They have good chemistry with almost everybody. Just guys that are hard to play against. Now, they could be losing all their games, but they're still going to be really hard to play against. People are going to be, annoyed to play against them. Mark Giordano's going to be the captain, which is... I like it. I like it. Mark Giordano, first time he's ever playing on a different franchise, and he gets a new change of scenery. He's going to be the captain of that team, and I personally, I can't wait to see it. Not only that, but to mention that they have close to $40 million of cap space that they will be able to use in free agency, and it's a big free agent market. Not to say that Ovechkin's going anywhere, but he's a UFA. There's very good veteran defensemen on there. Dougie Hamilton, Spurgeon. They already signed Adam Larson, who's gonna be on the top two, the top blue line with Mark Giordano probably. 2 former Canadian team players. So yeah, I don't think they're gonna be super effective their first year or so, but I think that they're gonna be a good team down the line just because the fusion of youth they have. They have Mark Giordano and a solid goalie in Dreider. They have a lot of veteran presence that could lead these young guys, but most of it is just guys that gotta learn. And they're gonna get their minutes in, see what they could do, and not to mention again the cap space. They're gonna be a scary team 2-3 years down the line. And then Friday, the NHL entry draft. As I predicted, Owen Power, as most people predicted, Owen Power went number 1 to the Buffalo Sabres, who are having a fire sale right now, but I'll talk about that later. Owen Power, he's a great D-man. He could play winger, kind of like Eric Gustafsson, but Owen Power has a lot more potential, and he's probably going to be a lot more better. So they have a potential superstar. Luke is going to be playing with his brother in New Jersey, so they could have a superstar defensive tandem that are brothers. I don't know if his name is Rashi or Ratty, his last name, but he ends up falling to the second round when last year he was the projected number 1 overall pick for this year. He ends up falling to the second round to the Islanders, so they have a potential superstar. And it's funny too, everybody passed on him, and the day after he was drafted, he scores 4 goals in the league he's in. So yeah, the Islanders may have gotten a superstar player in the second round just because people didn't want him because he opted out this season. And then the Habs, who selected a player who was supposed to be in the top 10, like a top 10 overall pick in this year's draft. They drafted him at 31, but all of Canadian media is buzzing right now. Logan Mailloux, however you want to say it, he resigned himself from the draft a few days ago because in Sweden he had sexual altercations with a woman, all consensual, but he decided to take photos of the woman and share it around with his teammates. Now, he is currently not an official sex offender in Sweden, but he's on a lot of lists, sex offender lists, and the Habs decided to draft him. My opinion on the pick, if he cleans up his act, if the Habs get him the help he needs for his character, and he becomes a good player, Bergevin's going to look like a genius. And if he doesn't, runs himself out of league, I don't think people are going to pay much attention to it. Because even right now, just a few days after he was taken, the league and fans around the world aren't really paying attention to it at all. They don't care. It's all Habs fans and Habs media going wild over this kid. Now, what he did was disgusting, but people have played in professional sports for worse. Big Ben Roethlisberger, still in the NFL today, he was charged with multiple sexual assault not allegations, but he was charged with sexual assault. Doug Gilmour was charged with sexual assault, and he's a Hall of Famer. Now, this doesn't excuse what he did, but it's not as severe as what past athletes have done. That being said, I think he could be a great future player for our organization. Now, he's probably going to be playing in the AHL next year, because the 18 now, he's not going to be staying with the London Knights. He's going to go to the AHL and probably be maybe a 7th D-man, or if he earns his spot, or if he even wants to play, he'll end up playing 5th and 6th D-man. Either way, I feel like us Habs fans are, in general, we're just being, with Bergevin, we're always left in the dark, but this one scratching our heads a little bit. What's next? What is going to happen? But that all can't be decided or discovered what's going to happen as of right now. We just have to wait and see. And it's going to be a wild ride. I can't be a fan if I say I'm not rooting for the kid. I want him to do well. I want him to grow as a person and learn from his mistake, which he's claimed he has done. He has sent an apology to the woman. He has given her a large sum of money, so that probably helps. But his actions are inexcusable, and I just hope he learns as a person, because I don't care what players do on the outside. If it affects the team, then I care. And if his actions are going to affect the team, then I care. But as of right now, they are not. It's just a questionable pick by the management. All I care about is how does this affect the team? What do the players feel? How are they going to play? How is he going to play if he does end up making the Canadiens roster? Best case scenario, he learns his lesson. He becomes one of our top D-men. Worst case scenario, he runs himself out of league and everyone forgets about it. Because players come and go, and this isn't the first time this has happened to an organization where they draft a player who has behaved questionably. Now, this is something I'm going to be doing regularly, where I go through the signing of whatever team I'm talking about. It could be NHL, NBA, or NFL. Trades or signings, and I will grade them. So, I'm going through the list right now of NHL signings that happened within the last few days between the draft and wherever. As of about an hour ago, Paul Stastny was signed to a 1-year, $3.75 million deal. I give that a B+. Stastny's a good veteran presence, and he was one of their top centers, so good job on the Jets. Sam Bennett gets a deal. Forward on the Panthers, 4 years, $17.6 million. So he's making about maybe 4 or 5 mil. No, he's making like 4.2 mil a year, which is, I think it's an A grade, because Sam Bennett's a really good forward, and I think they got him at a pretty good discount. Nathan Walker gets a good deal, 2 years, 1.5 mil. I give it B+. He's a solid third, fourth line forward who could just put up solid numbers for what he is. One of my favorite players, Mark Stahl, gets a 1-year, $2 million deal with the Detroit Red Wings. I like it. I give it a B+. He's not that guy like he used to be, but he still could be 5'6" D-man. Just put up solid, not numbers, but just do solid defensively. He's a guy that you could trust. He's going to be on your lineup in the playoffs if they make it. And he'll just do his job. Trevor Moore gets 2 years, $3.75. He could play second or third line. He's going to put up good numbers. And he's shown that he could have incredible chemistry with whoever he plays on. He's like a Zach Hyman or a Nick Suzuki. If you're on his line, he's going to help you out, put up points. Here's a big one. Cole Makar, 6 years, $54 million. So he's making exactly $9 million a year. And it's an RFA deal. I'm not going to give it A+. I'm going to give it an A. Just because he's also very young. And you're giving a young player that kind of money. I know he's proved he's top 2 D-man in the league. Like, literally, the only person I put ahead of him is Victor Hedman. But I really like how there's an RFA tender on there as well. Even after the 6 years, he's going to be 27. He'll still have an RFA tender. I think it's an overall good deal. Seth Jones gets a big deal. 8 years, $76 million. He's making about the same, maybe a bit more. I think it's 9.5 mil. I'm giving it a C+. Seth Jones is a really good player, but he's not a 9.5 mil kind of guy. A lot of people say he's overrated. I personally think he's number 1 D-man on any roster. Well, most rosters, but I don't know, they traded a lot to get him, and then they gave him this mega deal. So he's essentially replacing Duncan Keith. C+. Taylor Hall, 4 years, 24 mil. I give it an A. He's making about 6 mil a year. Taylor Hall is going to be on the first or second line. He's just going to put up numbers all year, like he usually does. I think it's a good deal. Barclay Goodrow, 6 years, $21.85 million. I think this is a really good deal, especially now that they lost, I think his name is Vukovic. I'm probably butchering that name, but Barclay Goodrow, he's just a guy you hate to play against, and he's gonna put up. He's like Yanni Gourde. He was on that Yanni Gourde line where it's just a spark plug. So yeah, I think it's a great signing. Michael Rasmussen, 3 years, $4.38 mil. I think it's good. I'm not gonna give it an A. I'm gonna give it a B+. Dude's gonna be on the second line, putting up points. He's like Tyler Toffoli. He just puts up points. Doesn't really do much else. But that's how you win games. So the first D grading, Mike Smith, 2 years, $4.4 mil. I think he's 39 now, and he hasn't shown that he's any good. He's still in Edmonton, and he was allowing like 3-4 goals a game. He's lucky he had McDavid on that team. I don't like it at all. Next 3 are Kraken signings. Chris Driedger, 3 years, $10.5 mil. I like it. I give it a B+. He was really solid last year. Jamie Oleksiak, 5 years, $23 million. He's a D-man. He's gonna just be this whole defense for the Kraken. I think it could be one of the best defenses in the league already. You got Mark Giordano, Oleksiak, Larson. You have the Fleury brothers, who could prove to be somewhat good. I like it a lot. The Stars, Miro Heiskanen gets 8 years, $67.6 million. D-man, very good, but I think they could have used their money on a lot of other places. I'm gonna give it B-, just because that's a lot of money, and he's not that kind of money kind of guy. To say he's really good, but I don't know. They're a funny team. Their cap is all over the place. Anthony Duclair, 3 years, $9 mil. He's making $3 mil a year for a guy who's gonna be on the second, third line. I like it. I'm gonna give it a B-, just because it's quite a bit of money, but he's a veteran player, and he's just gonna do his job. Joel Eriksson Ek, 8 years, $42 million. He's a forward. He's gonna be on your top line. I like it a lot. I'm gonna give it an A, even though it's quite a bit of money, but when you think about it, it's really not. If Kaprizov goes, at least they'll still have him, because he's a big part of that team. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, 8 year, $41 million. This was a steal. Absolutely steal. He's making like, what, $4 or $5 million a year for what he is. The Oilers had a lot of L's this offseason, but this was a big win on their part. And yeah, that's it for the signings. So most of the signings have been really good this year. Not a lot of overpaying. There was a few, but everyone's earned their money. Now on to the trades. The Sabres were having a fire sale. They traded Sam Reinhart for Devon Levy and a first-round pick. I think the Panthers absolutely won that trade. No question about it. Sam Reinhart could be a number 1 center on most teams, and they just traded him for basically nothing. And getting Devon Levy, the goalie, was absolutely useless because you have Ullmark, who's going to be a huge, not huge, but pretty solid goalie coming up. So A+ for the Florida Panthers. I give it C- for the Buffalo Sabres. Another trade where a team absolutely stole. The Carolina Hurricanes trade defenseman Jake Bean for a 2021 second-round pick. The Hurricanes got absolutely robbed. Jake Bean is a solid young defenseman who has potential top 2 defenseman capability. And they traded him for a second-rounder in a draft where everyone has questions about. Jackets absolutely robbed them. They get an A+. Carolina gets D+. Here's another big trade. Columbus Blue Jackets and Chicago Blackhawks. Blackhawks get Seth Jones, first-round pick in 2021 and sixth-round pick in 2022. While the Jackets, they get Adam Boqvist, who is very good. Not very good, but he's solid for what he is. They get a 2021 first-round pick, 2022 second-round pick, and 2022 first-round pick. So they swap picks in the first round of 2021. The Jackets get 2 very solid picks next year, where scouts will actually get a chance to scout the players. I think that Chicago gets a B, and the Jackets get an A+, because Seth Jones wanted out anyway, so they reaped all the benefits they could. Another big trade on draft night. Vancouver and Arizona. Vancouver gets Olivier Ekman-Larsson and Connor Garland for Antoine Russell, Jay Beagle, Louis Eriksson, first round pick in 2021, second round pick in 2022, and a seventh round pick in 2023. Now, I love this trade for Vancouver if they weren't in cap hell. How are they going to pay Quinn Hughes, and how are they going to pay Elias Pettersson? So I'm going to put a question mark on Vancouver, and I'm going to put a B on Arizona because they got quite a bit. Now, I thought the Rangers have done a great job so far this offseason until they did this. They traded Pavel Buchnevich to the St. Louis Blues for Sammy Blais and a 2022 second round pick. Now, Pavel, he was on their first line with Zibanejad and Panarin, and he was fantastic, and they traded him for nothing, and his salary wasn't huge, so it was not like they were trading away just to get rid of the salary. So I don't know. I really don't. I give St. Louis an A+ in New York. I give them a D because I don't know what they're doing. Another big trade from the Buffalo Sabres fire sale. They trade Rasmus Ristolainen to the Philadelphia Flyers for Robert Hagg, a 2021 first round pick, and 2023 second round pick. Ristolainen is a great defensive player, top 2 D-man, and he was traded almost as if he was nothing, but Buffalo still got a pretty good amount of picks and a solid player. But I don't understand, Ristolainen's contract wasn't even huge. He was just making $5 million next year, and Buffalo could easily had one of the strongest, youngest defensive core I've seen in a long time with Owen Power, Dahlin, and Ristolainen, and then they traded Ristolainen. So maybe it was the smart move, not sure. Philadelphia gets A+, Buffalo gets a B-. There was a lot of salary dumping. New York Islanders dumped Andrew Ladd and a couple second-round picks just to get rid of him. It was good trades on both parts. Same thing happened with Tampa Bay. They traded Barclay Goodrow for a 7th-round pick. You can't really grade salary dumps because no team is really winning. The Flyers, again, they have one of the scariest. They're building one of the scariest looking defensive cores I've seen in a while. Ryan Ellis, they got Ryan Ellis from Nashville for Philippe Myers and Nolan Patrick, who are 2. I'm not gonna say solid I'm going to say unproven young players. Philadelphia gets an A. Nashville gets a B-. Toronto made a pretty good trade. They flipped Philip Hallander and a 7th round pick for Jared McCann, but the plan going forward wasn't that you were gonna keep a good young player in Jared McCann. He was just a decoy, so they wouldn't take Alex Kerfoot or Zach Hyman. But Zach Hyman left anyway. So Lou, on the New York Islanders GM, had a surprisingly good trade on his part, considering that he never has good trades. He traded Nick Leddy, who I said on my YouTube channel that he was as useful as Stephen Hawking's trying to swim. And he got Richard Panik and a 2nd round pick out of it. Now, Richard Panik isn't anything special, but the fact that they got anything lower than a 3rd round pick is astounding. They got a 2nd round pick for Nick Leddy, who wasn't good at all last season. So, New York Islanders get an A. Detroit, I say C+, because he used to be good. Like 2 years ago, he was really good, but last year he was kind of hard to watch him. Here's another robbery. The Chicago Blackhawks traded Duncan Keith and Tim Sutherland to the Edmonton Oilers for Caleb Jones and a 3rd round pick. Now, Duncan Keith, big salary, trade him away. Smart on them. And they got a promising young defenseman in Caleb Jones and a 3rd round pick. What are the Oilers doing? I get Duncan Keith is good, but you just traded one of your defensive prospects that you kind of needed. Because he would be nice to have. So you essentially traded a promising young D-man and got rid of Adam Larson to get Duncan Keith, who is aging and isn't what he used to be. But he could be good mentorship. So I don't know. I give Edmonton a D, and Chicago, I'll give them a B+. And that's pretty much it for the trade so far. Jack Eichel's been rumored to move. There's been rumors of what's his face? Rumors of Matt Murray trying to move. So we'll see about that. But speaking of Matt Murray, well, not really speaking of him. Speaking of the Ottawa Senators, they're gonna be dangerous. They need that one goalie and maybe one more good veteran player away from having a deep regular season, a deep cup run. They looked really good later on last year. They put up I think the 3rd highest amount of points by any team in the later end of the season. Tim Stützle, Shabbat, Tkachuk, they're getting older and they're getting smarter and better. They're learning. I like their team a lot. They're missing that one goalie, and that one goalie could be Philip Grabauer. But I think he's gonna stay with the Avalanche. But imagine if they got Philip Grabauer. That team's making the playoffs. No doubt about it. It's weird too because their team is such a kryptonite to everyone else. They were the one team that the Leafs and Habs and Oilers all struggled against. They weren't good, but they were good against those teams. They knew how to beat them. And when I was watching the regular season, whenever we had a game against the Senators, I'm like, oh, I don't like this. And I'm sure Leafs fans were thinking the same thing. Another team that's like that, who they're not in our division, but they're going to be scary for other people in that division, the Philadelphia Flyers. They just suddenly maxed out their decor. One of the scariest looking decors of the coming into this season. Their forwards aren't exactly the best, but they have a lot of cap room and free agency's hitting. And the Flyers are weird in a sense where they're bad one year, but they're like deep cup contenders the next year, and it's so weird. But yeah, they're also a team to look out for. I'd say Detroit too, but who knows with Detroit? There's always something going on. What's his name? Adam Larkin. That's who I'm thinking of. How did I forget his name? He's a very scary dude. I could see him being the next McKinnon. He's still very young, but he has a lot of talent. The Red Wings just have to put talent around him. Let him flourish. The Habs could be scary too. We just came off... well, we shouldn't be scary. We just came back from a Stanley Cup final. But things are turning upside down right now, and we don't know what's going on. I'd like Jack Eichel, but I don't want to trade our whole future away from him. Players I do want on the Habs that are UFAs that we could sign. I want... Well, it has to be realistic too. You're not going to go out and get Philip Graba or Ovechkin. I want to build a super team. I'm thinking realistically with the cap that we have. Dougie Hamilton would be a great player to have to replace Weber. You could have Dougie Hamilton, Dougie Hamilton with Edmondson. I don't know. I don't know how the pairings will work, but Dougie Hamilton would be great to have. He conductor of the power play, and just a great offensive defenseman. I'd love to have two. I'd love to have Petrie on the second line and the Dougie Hamilton on the first line. Another one, Ryan Hoffman, winger. Now, last year he didn't put up a lot of points, but he was the power play specialist, and that's all the Habs need right now is scoring on the power play, scoring when they're given the opportunity, and that's what he does. Good veteran player who just puts up points on the power play and puts up points whenever he can. Now, those are the guys I'm just thinking of realistically. I think that's all we can do right now. I'd like to re-sign Perry, Armia, and Lehkonen. Get those guys back. I think our team could be solid. But with Bergevin, you're left in the dark. Like I said at the beginning, you never know what's going to happen. Oh, the Habs are rumored to trade for Jack Eichel, but then they end up trading for like Evgeny Malkin, trading all their future pieces. Like, that's not going to happen. But you never rule it out with Bergevin because we don't know what he's doing. And yeah, that seems like all the buzz for now about NHL. Not much going on right now. Re-sign phase starts in a few days. So I'll keep my YouTube updated. I'm going to make little videos on big signings or big trades that happen. On my YouTube channel. It's going to be more funny based though. Keep it lighthearted. Here I go in depth. The NBA. The Milwaukee Bucks defeat the Phoenix Suns in 6. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak, wins an NBA championship, gets an NBA ring, along with Finals MVP. He is literally... I have to revamp my whole best players in the league list for the NBA because dude is 26, has won 2 MVPs back-to-back, won Defensive Player of the Year the same year he won MVP, wins Comeback Player of the Year, is now a 5-time All-NBA team, is a 5-time All-Star, I think he's a 3-time All-Defense team, and now he has a ring and Finals MVP. He's already a Hall of Famer and he's 26. And we're just living in his world right now. I think it's absolutely crazy and I love it. It's sad to see CP3 not win a title. It was kind of like seeing Carey Price not win his championship that he so long has deserved. But when you just get outplayed, there's nothing you could do. And the Greek Freak was doing everything. Giannis was killing everybody, hitting alley-oops from nowhere, blocking shots. DeAndre Ayton didn't even want to go to the middle because Giannis had 5 blocks that game and would not allow any points in the paint. Dude is one of my favorite players. If it wasn't for Luka, he'd be my favorite player. But Giannis, he's got to be on the top 2 right now. He was number 5 on my top players in the league, and I think he has to be number 2. I still think Kevin Durant is better, but Giannis just jumped 3 spots after winning, and the performance that he showed. But now that that's over, Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton get a ring. But now that the NBA championship's over, the Olympics hit. Well, what's next for the NBA? You have the free agency coming up. They do the draft first like the NHL does. It's weird how the NFL does the draft 4 weeks after free agency, but it's all good. The Pistons have the number 1 overall pick, and they have a lot of options. The Rockets are currently trying to trade up to number 1, and they're offering quite a bit. If I were the Pistons, if there's a lot of options, and I'm the Pistons, and I'm willing to take those top 3 or 4 options, I'd trade with the Rockets. You'd get so much in return, and you'd probably still get the player you like. Now, another big player is Jared Allen. For hockey fans who don't know who Jared Allen is, he's like the Philip Danault or Patrice Bergeron, but without the points. Jared Allen will stop anybody who comes in the paint. If you're a big guy and you try to come into the paint to score, he's not going to allow it. He's the kryptonite. And the Cleveland Cavaliers are looking to trade him. And the Toronto Raptors, among many other teams, are trying to acquire him. And let's just, if you don't watch hockey and you're a football fan, well, what's the equivalent? He's like the Bobby Wagner. He's just a big dude who's going to lock down in the middle. As a Knicks fan, we shouldn't go out again. We already have Mitchell Robinson, who's kind of the same thing, but Jared Allen's just... Okay, Mitchell Robinson's like the Walmart version of Jared Allen. He's like the same thing, but he's not as good. Now that the championship's over, a lot of those guys from the championship or wherever, they flew down to Tokyo for the Olympics. And America, Team USA, has lost their first game in... Well, the France snapped their undefeated streak that they've had since 2004. And funny enough, it was the France who defeated them in 2004. Now, a lot of people are thinking, oh, it's Team USA. They're going to blow everyone out the park like they usually do. People don't understand that half of the NBA now is international. Luka Doncic, Slovenian, and he just killed Argentina, putting up 58 points, the second highest in Olympic history. You have the Greek Freak, Giannis. You have his 2 brothers, Thanis and I forget the other one's name. I'm sorry, but they're probably all going to be on the roster. You have Rudy Gobert and Evan Fournier, who's on the France team, who just beat them. Rudy Gobert's on the Jazz, and he's a great center, a great player. Fournier's on the Celtics, and he's usually not good, but he was dropping dimes everywhere. Like, even Team Canada, I know they didn't make it, but if they had Jamal Murray there, they would have made it too. They have Jamal Murray, RJ Barrett, guys like that. They would be up there too. The NBA is not an American... it is American player sport anymore. It's not just Americans playing. You got everyone there. And I love to see it. Now, if LeBron and Curry were there, would they have beaten France? Most likely. But I like what Fournier said, where, he said that, they're a bunch of great individuals. They're better than us individually, but they're not as good as a team as us. And I like that. I like that. And it's true. You see that all over sports. The Leafs and Habs. The Leafs were better individually, but the Habs were a better team. So it's not like he's speaking out of nowhere. He's speaking facts. But yeah, that's all the buzz with basketball right now. It's been fun to watch, and it's definitely not over. All the off seasons for all the sports are hitting, and I'm as a fan of all sports, I'm just enjoying watching it. The NFL. The NFL came out with the Madden 2022 rookie ratings, and some of them are understandable, but what I don't like is when you rate these rookies super high. Like Kyle Pitts, probably the best college tight end. Like, the best tight end to come out of college, sorry. Put up the best numbers anyone's ever seen before. But they're rating him like for people who don't play Madden, the highest overall you could get is 99. The lowest overall you could get is like a 50. If you're somewhere in between the 70s and 80s, you're an average player. If you're somewhere in between the 80s and 85s, you're pretty good. If you're somewhere between 85 and 90, you're a superstar. And if you're anywhere between 90 and 99, you're like the X Factor. You're the all-star of the team. So yeah, they rated Kyle Pitts at a 91 overall, which I respect it if they didn't rate guys like Brandon Ayuk, Joe Burrow, and a lot of other great sophomore players low. Like, they're rating him in between the 75 and 80 category, and Kyle Pitts is already 81, who hasn't played a single snap on the NFL level. I'm not complaining, but I kind of am. I just find there's a little bit of a bias. And then you have guys like Trey Lance, who's a 74 overall, who was the number 3 overall pick. One pick lower than Kyle Pitts was, but somehow Kyle Pitts is magically that much better than him. Which we don't know yet, which is why I think every rookie in the first round should be in between the 75 and 78 category. Nothing higher than that. Trevor Lawrence was rated a 78, and he was the best. He looks like the next best thing since Peyton Manning. But you don't see him at a 85 overall like Kyle Pitts. That's just me nitpicking about the game. I can't wait for that game to come out. It looks very solid. For anybody who likes playing video games and playing sports games, that's one you should check off your list. Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams a few days ago, they sent out a cryptic message on their Instagram. Not really a message, just a picture on their story of MJ, Michael Jordan, and I think it was Scottie Pippen. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering this, but it's supposed to resemble The Last Dance, where it was like, okay, it's our last chance. We got to go out there and win a championship. And now today, there's talks that Aaron Rodgers will play for the Packers after 2 months of saying that he won't. So maybe this is a sign. We've seen angry Aaron Rodgers. He became MVP. Now let's see an Aaron Rodgers who is putting everything on the line to win a championship this year. And if the Packers hold him back, if the Packers hold back this beast of a man, then I don't even know what to say. I hope he stays for one more year with the Packers. Well, I want to see him out of the NFC, but he's a guy. If the Niners aren't in the playoffs, I want to see him win another ring. He's only had one, and he's the best quarterback we've seen talent-wise ever. Patrick Mahomes is there, but he's not there yet. Not there like Aaron Rodgers has been there for 10 years. Although Patrick Mahomes is probably going to beat him. Fred Warner got a massive extension. He was like 5 years, $85 million, but $50 million are guaranteed. The Niners are so good at signing contracts. Because that $50 million is guaranteed, right? But a lot of that contract is voidable and renegotiable. And knowing the Niners, if they see an opportunity, they're going to ask him to renegotiate. And Fred Warner's just that guy. He's going to be like, okay, what are we doing? And the teams are like, we're creating cap space and we're going to build a championship roster. And he's like, okay, let's do it then. He came out and said, after he signed, that the Niners are not having another single losing season for a long time. And it all starts with the greatest linebacker in the league right now. We have 3 of the top paid players in the league. We have Trent Williams, George Kittle, and Fred Warner. Trent Williams, without a doubt, last year, I think he's the top left tackle. He got paid like one. George Kittle, if he wasn't injured, he'd probably still be the top tight end. Travis Kelce has to be number 1 right now after the record-setting year he had. And Fred Warner, arguably the best linebacker in the league, and he just got paid like it. Highest paid linebacker in the league. And I like it. We're smart with our contracts, and we still have so much cap room, which is crazy. If we get rid of Jimmy G this year, we'll have $22 million to spend, and we will still have a quarterback in Trey Lance. So, I like it. John Lynch is a genius. He knows what he's doing, and we're all just watching it. Now, I'm going to do a last little segment here where I go through each NFL division and I say, who do I think how do I think they stack up? How do I think each team stacks up in their own unique division? So let's start in the AFC. AFC East, I am going to rank Buffalo 1, Miami 2, New England 3, Jets 4. Buffalo, because they just came back from the AFC Championship. New England's going to get a lot better now that they have all their guys back from being opted out. The Jets, I feel like, are going to get better. I like Zach Wilson a lot, and they put a line around him like they never did with Sam Darnold. But Miami just went from one of the teams that tank every year to a team who went 10-6 and missed the playoffs, who should have made the playoffs. But AFC was so stacked last year. AFC North, I'm going to put Cleveland 1, Baltimore 2, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh tied at 3. I think Cincinnati and Pittsburgh are both going to go 6-11. I think Cleveland's going to have a 12-5 record and win the division. Cleveland, all they were missing last year was a good defense. And good secondary. And what they did in the offseason was build on the secondary. Build their linebacking core with JOK. They did everything right. Their offensive line is stacked. They have some of the best receivers. They have the best running back tandem. And they have Myles Garrett, who's going to anchor that defensive line. AFC South, Colts 1, Tennessee 2, Jacksonville 3, and then Houston 4. Houston's in a dumpster fire right now. Deshaun Watson wants out, and he's facing sexual assault allegations. So that's their own problem. The Colts I have as a dark horse team for the Super Bowl. So yeah, I have them at 1. Tennessee, I feel like they're going to miss the playoffs, but they'll still end up being 2 in the division. They have no defense whatsoever, but they just got Julio Jones, so they might literally turn into Falcons 2.0, where they put up 40 points a game but get outscored by 50. AFC West, I have Kansas City Chiefs 1, LA Chargers 2, Denver 3, and Las Vegas 4. I think the Chargers are also a dark horse team, an MVP candidate in Justin Herbert. I think he could be MVP. I really like Justin Herbert. He's probably my favorite quarterback in the league right now. And he's going to put on a show with all the new weapons he's got and a better offensive line. Now moving on to the NFC. NFC least or NFC East. I'm going to put the Giants 1, Washington 2, Dallas 3, Philadelphia 4. The Giants, I feel like Danny Dimes, this is his year. He has so many weapons. His offensive line is getting a little bit better, and he has a stacked defense. But I could say the same about the Washington football team, if their quarterback wasn't Ryan Fitzpatrick, who had a good year last year, but you know him. It's Fitzception or Fitzmagic. We never know. NFC North, Green Bay 1, Minnesota 2, Chicago 3, Detroit 4. Now that Aaron Rodgers has announced he's probably going to be playing this year, Green Bay's going to probably go 13-3 again. Oh no, 13-4 or 14-3. I don't know. Minnesota, I think, is going to be a lot better. Detroit is going to be one of the worst teams again, because now that their only good player, Matthew Stafford, is gone, yeah, they're going to continue to be a dumpster fire. NFC North, Tampa Bay 1, New Orleans 2. Oh, I'm going to put Carolina 2, New Orleans 3, Atlanta 4. I like Sam Darnold on the Carolina Panthers. He has a lot more weapons now. Good offensive line. McCaffrey's going to come back and tear everything apart again. And that young defensive unit is going to be more mature, and they're going to learn. And they're just going to be a lot better. NFC West, the division of my favorite team, the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to put Los Angeles Rams 1, San Francisco 49ers 2, Seattle Seahawks 3, Arizona 4. I think Arizona is completely overrated. Their coach is not good. I don't believe in Cliff Kingsbury. I like Kyler Murray a lot, but he's like 5'8", and you're not going to win with a 5'8" quarterback. He's fast, but that's about it. And he has no offensive line. Seattle has no offensive line, and their defense is getting ripped apart. The Rams are my pick to win the Super Bowl this year. Yeah. Which is kind of hurts me because they're our rivals. Yeah, so those are my rankings for the divisions this year on my YouTube channel, which I will put in the description. I will be going through each division on their own and actually going in depth about each division and how I think it's going to be stacked out, including these rankings, but it's going to be a little more detailed than what other than just ranking them. Last note. Recently, there's been a lot of speculation about the vaccines in the NFL. Today, analytics came out, said 83% of players were vaccinated. And two people in particular, in Cole Beasley and DeAndre Hopkins, have been complaining about the vaccine. And I see so many people saying, oh, my body, my choice. Let these players play. And they just keep spewing nonsense. The NFL decided to put a rule out saying that if a team gets COVID because a player got COVID and spread it when they were not vaccinated and not following COVID protocols, their team will be forfeited that week. They will lose that week without even playing, and they will be fined. I think it was like $128,000. $128,000, my bad. The NFL is a private organization, and they make their own private rules. You don't have to follow them. They're not forcing you to take the vaccine. You don't have to play for them. That's my take on it. If you don't want to follow the rules, you don't have to play in the league. You guys have literal other substances that you don't even know of injected into you so you can perform better. And through surgery and everything, you trust these doctors in surgery, you trust these doctors putting needles in you for all other things, but you can't trust a vaccine that the vaccine hasn't been being made in the last year. It's been made since we've had SARS. It's all the general idea. It's just this last year they've developed it so it could apprehend COVID more. I agree. You should be able to choose what you want to do with your body, including taking vaccines. But if you don't want to follow rules and you want to put other people at harm and you want to jeopardize what the NFL is trying to do, then you don't have to play if you don't like what they're enforcing. That being said, I think that this was a good second episode, and I look forward to making more. So, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all on the next one. See you.